Science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? Are you funny like I'm a clown, an illusion?
Where you been?
Drunk.
Wendy, darling, light of my life.
What is your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death? Yeah, so fuck up and die.
I wish Mary would have watched it because I'm like,
Dude.
if you could get past it being like the older aesthetic, like it doesn't even feel that dated, dude.
holds up.
It
No,
does
I
not
literally-
feel that dated.
I told everybody. So it's so frustrating because as I was describing this to my coworkers who are all under 24, I was like, oh yeah, it's great. It's like, and then I was like, it's black and white, but I'm like, it literally does nothing. It takes nothing away from the film. This film is fantastic.
Yeah, well, because it's like in order to have seen it, like if anyone is listening to this that's seen it when it was released, that means you're like 85, 90.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
because
yo.
this is crazy. I thought this was in the 60s. So like when we were watching this, I was like 1950.
I thought it was like mid to late 50s for some reason. Because like
No, dude, I thought it was
like
62.
Because like Some Like a Hot and Double Indemnity. Oh, okay. So hey, this is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. We're just eager to talk about it. Today
I'm psyched.
we're talking about the fucking classic, finally, Sunset Boulevard, from the year 1950, as we said, which is
bonkers that you have not seen it. I'm sorry I spoiled it. That we usually give our first impressions.
Yeah, no, I
can't believe I'm excited. I'm glad.
It's been on my watch list, like top 5 watch list, for 20 years, literally. And it's like I saw Double Indemnity first,
and I didn't. I've never seen Double Indemnity, so now I'm the fool.
I still like Double Indemnity more, but
oh, really? Okay, well then that makes me excited to see it because this is a 4.5 star. 4.5 star.
This movie is this movie same. That'd probably be mine too, because this movie's amazing. A Double Indemnity is just like, it also holds a special place in my heart, and it's like it's more film noir. Like this is this is film noir, obviously, but this is like.
Okay, we'll get into it, but they wanted to make this genre-less.
It kind of is though.
They did. Yeah, they really did it.
It's noir in its style with its narration, because it's like noir was still like the popular thing in the 40s and 50s. It's like that's kind of just the style of filmmaking for a lot of movies. And so it makes sense because this movie it has a lot of the tropes that came later, but it doesn't have like a lot of like, it is a crime and stuff, but it's like, it's more of like just an interesting relationship drama dynamic.
I said that it's Baby Reindeer for 1950s.
Dude, kind of.
Yeah, right.
if he just lived with her, right?
Right, yeah, like it's the like romance is so interesting and awkward, but it's at like such a distance. Oh my god, dude, I'm so excited. Do you want me to do a synopsis for the fine folks at home?
Yeah, why don't you do one for once? And
I know, right?
We'll do it quick, and I'll help. We'll help each other. We do it, but you lead. I'll piggyback your synopsis with you.
Yeah, right. So as I say that now, I'm so terrible with names and everything. But anyways, so Joe Gillis, kind of a 2-bit Hollywood writer. He's down on his luck, and he's been trying to write like a masterpiece, and he's trying to get a baseball pitcher picked to the studios. And it opens with him like furiously writing, and he submitted it, and so he's just kind of a man about town, and he does a lot of narration through this, and it's beautiful. There's beautiful one.
Well, it opens with the classic, like dead in a pool, and then it's like 6 weeks.
Yeah, duh.
It's such the
That's
intro.
so funny
like,
because it's like,
Sunset Boulevard about 5 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's such an enticing intro, and I can't believe I like glossed over that. My bad. But yeah, it does. So it's like a cop procedural right at the beginning, and you have like a narration of a headline and everything, and then it dissolves to Joe Gillis just going about his life, and it's showing the past essentially. He's talking about the actions leading up to his death, and it's oh my god, that's such a good opening. Well, anyways, so he goes to the studio. He's pitching it. The producer was just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. It's a baseball pitcher. Can we do other things with it? They're doing the spin. They're doing their classic Hollywood. You get a little Hollywood insider, and in walks is it Betty? Yeah, Betty Schaefer, and she's an aspiring young writer, and she's just a reader in Hollywood, but she wants to write, and she's like, oh, what they have like a kind of a meet cute where she's like, oh, your writing is treacherous, and he's like, oh, dang you.
Tell me how you really feel. Like,
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Like they're like the two detectives from BoJack Horseman. But, anyways, they meet her and they have their cute little thing, and he goes off and
they're trying to impound his car. He's going around talking to his agent. He just needs $300 to pay off his car to do his car payment.
You kind of find out he's just a schlub around town. He's got some connections in Hollywood, but he's just not really making it. He through narration, he's talking about, maybe I'm just going to pack up and go home. And then he sees the impound bookies when he's in his car, and they start chasing him. His car has a blowout, and so he just makes like a random turn into someone's driveway, and he goes up, and it's this kind of like old, ancient, decrepit mansion from like the early 20s, because right now it's contemporary times. It's like in the 50s, and so he sees this old mansion, and he's like, oh, this is weird, and he parks his car there, and this is before guns were more popular in America, because he just walks right up to like the mansion, and he's like, oh, let's see about this. And there's an interesting character who's very, very nondescript. His name's Max, and he's just like a doorman / butler, and he's like, come in, Norma, the woman of the house. She saw you from the window. She's interested about you.
No, she's waiting for you.
And she's waiting for you. And that's such a good enticing line, because he's like, come in. She's waiting for you. And Joe kind of just being like, interested. Maybe he can kind of like, he's just kind of taking the opportunity. It's great because his character, like, he doesn't really have an ulterior motive or anything, but he's
very opportunistic. Like he's not, he's not like planning anything, but everything he's just kind of like, he does kind of take advantage and manipulate, but it's never like, it's not like he has a grand master plan ever. He's just kind of like,
and he's like your slight 1950s greaseball guy, but in a kind of a charming way. So
yeah, sure.
He goes and he meets Norma Desmond, and Norma has a body, a corpse, that she's like, are you here to give me a small coffin? And he's like, oh, whoa, I'm sorry, you got the wrong person, and it's a chimp. And he's like, oh, this is really awkward. And she's like they through their tiff and tap, they find out that like he's a writer, and she's like, oh, you're a writer? Well, if you're not here for the coffin, why don't you read my grand opus that I've been writing for 20 years or whatever.
She's got a fucking like a ton of handwritten, and he's like, yeah, sure, I got nowhere to be. Yeah. Like,
right.
She's rich, obviously.
And I think he's slightly charmed because like Norma Desmond is like, she's surrounded by her old glitz and glamour. Like you can tell,
she's
like
old aging fucking movie star, from the silent era.
Right, which is like such a huge. That's such a cool transition from like, she's from the silent era, and he's like, oh, you got to write dialogue, and she's like, her lines are perfect. She acts this so well, dude. So, Gloria Swanson was amazing in this.
Crushed it, yeah.
Anyways, so they form a friendship in that moment, and it becomes like kind of one-sided on her end, where she's like very like insistent, but kind of emotionally manipulative, and then he's just kind of like along for the ride because she's kind of footing the bill, and that's keeping him there. And so anyways, they have their relationship, and through this relationship, he feels like kind of entrapped, and she has series of like of melancholy, and she's tried to kill herself on New Year's Eve.
Like
and that,
insanely jealous, insanely vain, but like likes having this hot young guy around.
Yeah, exactly. But she's so vulnerable too, which is amazing. Like, yeah, she has such a like, I don't know, it's like so sad but so sympathetic.
She's a great character. Norma Desmond is an amazing character.
And through this, it's like the only like main characters are those three: Joe, Norma, and Max, the butler. And
occasionally Betty starts showing her face a little bit more and being like, "Hey, Betty, I want to be a writer." See, and she's got her boyfriend, and
and a New Year's party they meet, and they kind of have another connection, and then later they start writing a script together, and that is like what keeps him there. And while they're writing a script together, Norma Desmond she goes to Paramount Pictures to pitch her movie to Cecil B. DeMille, who she's worked with in the past, and she's all like, she's there, and she's just like, hey Cecil, I've never forgot about you. This is my big comeback.
And he's the perfect gentleman, dude. Like, he is the perfect gentleman. It's just like so accommodating.
And it's so cool. He's Cecil B. DeMille too. Like, it's so awesome. Like, it's amazing. But yeah, and he's really like supportive, and he's a good director, man. He knows how to handle her as an actress. And then there's like you find out when she's on set like that, like some people are like, there's the rumor mill going around, and like he's like she got pretty bad at the end there, but she was full of spunk, and she was like a great actress, and she was like really, he had nothing but nice things to say about her. And so that's really cool to see that side. But then you kind of like throughout this whole thing, you kind of see her jealousy of Joe, being with somebody who's a little younger. You kind of see that like take over. And
Max is like pulling these strings the whole time to kind of like make her feel
he's
important.
Been, like, enabling her,
yeah,
for sure.
Well, because it's like we know as the audience, like Cecil B. DeMille read the script and he's like, "This is trash," and but Max is like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna make your movie." You know what I mean? So like, let's just do it all.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, he leads her on a little bit.
We find out that he's been writing her fan letters. He's been doing all this stuff to kind of like, he's enabling her fame. We find out that he was her first husband and a famous director from the silent era.
That's such a good reveal. So, yeah. So this is all like just kind of the end climax.
I'm just trying to get through it. At this rate, this will be half the podcast.
I know, right?
Explaining a 75-year-old movie.
It's a really odd turn of events for the climax. Betty, he invites Betty over because Norma's having a fit, and he breaks up with Betty essentially because they confess their love for each other, but then he invited Betty over to be like, you know what, Betty, you're not right for me. You're engaged to somebody else, and you kind of like, it's like weird because Joe's like, I'm defeated. I feel awkward for having this relationship with you, Norma. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna pack my stuff up.
Him saying it out loud too, I feel like is like the first time like he's unburdening, because it's like we know the narration, but the narration's all like past tense. But it's like it does feel in the moment where he's like, "This is my life. Like this is what it's become." You know what I mean? And he's like has like this like rant, and he's like, go. And Norma's like, "I heard you. Oh, thank you." But then he's like, "Nah, I'm fucking. I can't. I'm out of here, bitch. Like this is crazy."
Yeah, like. Yeah, Norma thought that he was
take your jewels and your gold.
And like, and Norma just feels left and abandoned, and she was in a fit at a like kind of an emotional state where she had a pistol and she was like threatening to kill herself, and then in just like desperation she goes out after Joe. She fires her gun, kills him. He falls in the swimming pool. The shot that we saw before is that you finally get to see that scene, and then how the film truly ends is she's just like in shock in her room, and all the cops and reporters,
complete mental breakdown. Very 40s style though, like 40s, 50s style.
Yeah, and so like, God, yeah, just like, and she's just compartmentalized. She's just like, she doesn't believe that it happened. She thinks she's on a film set, and the camera crews are there for the news, and they invite her down the staircase, and everyone lets her like descend, and she gets to the end, and she's like, I'm ready for my close-up. And then it just fades out.
So good.
Beautiful ending.
Max, it's
Such
like
a great movie.
He's like he goes down into like the news reporter's like, all right guys, you got your lights, you ready? And then he like directs her down the stairs.
Too.
So good.
Like, Max used to be a great film director, and now he gets like one more time to direct the person he loves, like the person he gave up his life for.
He's been directing her the whole time, man, but he's just as obsessed. Like,
really though.
I don't know. He's pulling the strings, man. He's secretly such a fascinating character. Like characters like him usually become like such side characters, and like he is, but he's so woven into all the events that it's just like he's just in the peripheral, but he's so integral to the story. And like those last moments especially, I thought for sure the whole time, because it's like obviously we know Joe was dead, right? Because it starts with that, and so the whole time you're like, okay, how does this get to this point? And I was like, oh, okay, she's going to have Max kill him probably. Because, like, he's, like, the dutiful, in-love servant. And then I'm like, when she has the gun, I'm like, oh, no, dude, this bitch is losing her mind, dude. Like, she's going to waste him. And then, obviously.
Right. Dude, and like, so, know what's amazing? This is your first time watching it.
Yes.
This is my, like, I can't remember. David and I have watched this a few times together, and then I've seen this on my own, I think, once.
Well, you guys were kissing.
Yeah, right. Well, no, dude, there's no time to kiss during this movie. It's too enthralling, man.
I was completely raptured because it's like, so like my first impression, I was like, okay, Sunset Boulevard, obviously classic, been meaning to see it for years. I'm finally sitting down to watch it. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't know. Like I'm in the mood, but also it's like watching an old movie. Like sometimes you got to get mentally there sometimes, but immediately with the fucking opening score and the credits and then just like the classic, like, you know, Sunset Boulevard, 5 a.m., you know, he's a schlubby bee writer, writes some bee pictures around town, dead in the pool. And then that shot, dude, that shot of like him in the pool with the cops behind him.
Yes. Yep.
That's like,
I mean,
that's so impressive.
It's iconic.
It is.
It's iconic, but it really
cool.
like, no, it's amazing. I'm just gonna get it out of the way because that shot is iconic.
It's impressive.
And the pool is, you know, is.
It's pool
Whatever
month, baby.
You want to say iconic, but yeah, I mean it's pool month. That's the whole reason we did this.
Yes.
And when they get the pool working and he flips the light on, he's like, "You can take a night swim." Like that's such a sick shot, dude. It like pans over to the pool. The light comes on, beautiful, dude. Anyways, in that pool, they had to shoot that at 40 degrees. Like the water had to be the right temperature to keep like particles down, and so they could shoot it. And then they shot it on a mirror. So there's a mirror in the water, and then they shot it from outside of the mirror, like outside of the pool, shooting down at the mirror and then looking up. But the water had to be like frigid, so that it wouldn't cause any particles.
It's intense.
Love it.
It's yeah. I'm like literally like I was wondering how they shot it because I'm watching. I'm like, this isn't, you know, nowadays you just fucking film it in the water, but like you can't do that in fucking 1949. Like you ain't doing that. The fucking giant camera
the camera that in universe those reporters have that camera, you know, and it's great. He throws it on his shoulder, you know, and you see him like heave up that huge camera. I don't even think that's 35. I think that's like 16, right? Or maybe it's 35, but it's just like small reels. But like even that camera itself like is so heavy, so cumbersome, and like they weren't putting it underwater. Like they're not putting that, like, you know, and especially film cameras are a lot larger. And you get to see actual film cameras that they use on sets in that movie. Like that's all practical.
Yeah, somehow I thought I was like, oh, okay, they shot like they built a special pool where one side was made of glass, and they shot through the glass or whatever.
It didn't work. No, they did try a tank. They did try shooting it in a tank. There was too much particles. It like didn't work.
The mirror is smart. Yeah, that's cool.
And dude, it looked so good.
It's so good. This movie had a lot of like because it is very like a lot of movies from this era, like, you know, coming out of the golden age and like moving forward. It's like a lot of these movies they're great, but they're very kind of like stiff cinematography wise. Often, not all the time, but like it's very much like here's the shot, here's the frame, follow the action. You know what I mean? There's not usually
even like Hitchcock. You look at him; he'll have like one good tracking, you know, one good like punctuation of cinema, and then the rest of the time it is just decent shots.
Well, and he was like such a quote unquote like revolutionary, but it's like it wasn't even until like shortly after this, you know what I mean, that they're like he's breaking the mold. But like this movie had quite a few really good, like if we weren't watching a black and white movie next week too, I was like we should do a black and white month though, because like
we really should. No, why not? Yeah, we can do that in the future.
I just like the black and
so
white.
So beautiful. They're so rich, dude.
It looks so good. It's like the deep tones, but like the first time, like one of my favorite shots, composition wise, because there was like quite a bit of movement too, which is like also kind of rare. But
right from the get go,
when you first meet Norma, not when you see her through which is good when you see her through the blinds, but when he goes to the top of the hallway, she looks like fucking Nosferatu or something, dude. She's like she's like got her hand in a claw, and she's like with the coffin, you know.
It's literally. It's genreless. Like they wanted to shoot, like they shot a lot of it really horror, really decrepit, really creepy. Yeah. But then it was like, it was supposed to be like, oh my God. The what is it? Charles Dickens. They talk about it. Great Expectations.
Oh yeah.
Right? Is that they quote it?
A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, no, I think it's a Great Expectations. Anyways, they quote it in the movie, like what it's like there, like just how it's just that like decrepit, creepy house that like one person is like she's almost like a phantom living in that in that
She
house,
is,
like
yeah.
living in her past, and like I love it. But dude, you know what's funny? Victoria saw this movie with me, which I was very impressed, and she thought it was really good. Because I mean, honestly, because like it's just carried by Gloria Swanson, but she didn't see the opening, so she got there when he was getting chased by the guys and the tire blows out and stuff. So she didn't know that it ended with him. Like,
Dead?
it's so funny to watch that movie because another fun fact, the opening was shot 6 months after they finished principal photography and finished completely editing this movie, and they did the test screening. The original opening is he gets willed into a morgue, and I actually think this is like really fascinating, and I would love to see this footage. I couldn't really find it, but he gets willed into the morgue, and then there's literally a narration conversation between these dead bodies, and they're talking about
That's a
how
cool
they died,
idea,
how
though.
they ended up in the morgue. But apparently it felt so whimsical, and everybody was just laughing their asses off in the test screenings that they like pulled it back, and they took like another 6 months to figure out what to do with the opening. And I mean, like, as cool as that is, that idea sounds nice, but I could totally see it
Yeah.
being
Especially
awkward and goofy
for 1950s audience, especially too. It's like goofy or morbid. Like, it's like they can't do it in like a surreal way. Like, the only movie that can do all that kind of crazy shit is the time traveling movie M, because that movie breaks all the molds. But like, it's like you couldn't do so many like morbid in that way. I don't know, like whether it's like in the morgue, and like I could see it being like,
right,
yeah, laughing about it for sure. Coming
it almost
across,
feels like a sitcom-y for the time, for that like.
Yeah.
It
It's the
feels like
start of
something
an
you'd see on, like,
anthology,
television.
too. Like, it's like if
Yeah.
it's all the
Oh,
other
yeah.
ones, like I don't care about them.
Right, exactly. No, that is kind of part of it too, where it's like he talks to all these people in there, and then like they're not part of the movie at all, and so it's just I think how they opened it, especially we got like one of the most iconic shots ever.
Smart choice, yeah.
It's-
Is
yeah,
man, and well, it's because it's like I don't know. I would like to go back and watch more because we love film noir, and it's like I've seen quite a few, but it's like only a drop in the bucket. But I want to know where the trope started, of like the narration coming from like the dead guy, because, or like the dying, like, so I don't want to spoil it, but the very beginning of Double Indemnity is the same kind of, where it's like he's shot to death, and it's like
it's so cool to have that, like, where they die, and now it's like you're kind of wondering how I got here, like record scratch. And,
Yeah.
you have that, like it's kind of cool how they.
But
they've
it
been
works
doing that forever.
so well in like a noir situation. Like, I like having a first-person narration from like someone that's like dead, like where that's coming from. Like, I like that. I don't know. It's interesting because
Well, and like I just connected with him so much. Like his like every 1950s relationship, the relationship was awkward, but even for this, it was kind of like it felt like kind of quick and shoehorned, but. It was kind of cool to like have his aspirations. Like it was such an interesting story to see, like this almost like Lolita style relationship where like they, like maybe Harold and Maude, but like it just
Harold and
like
Maude,
they're in this relationship where he kind of acts like a child at times with her, but then it's like he also, because he's like, well, this is a little awkward and I'm leading her on. Like he feels guilty. / he loves her. It's great. It's a wonderful relationship.
It's surprisingly complex because it's like, again, like I love movies from this era, but a lot of time it is pretty cut and dry. Everything is very like literal. Everything that happens, it's like pretty spelled out. I mean, there wasn't like, but it's like this. I mean, obviously not always. There are obviously exceptions, but like this relationship between Norma and Joe was like super complex, especially for the time, man. Like, just like their weird interactions and like this weird
I would
toxic
love to know,
fucking like codependence upon each other. Like, I don't know. It's fascinating because like it's so great when he finally resigns to it, like after New Year's, and he comes back and he's like, why would you go and do a thing like that? And she tried to like slit her wrist or whatever. And it's obviously just like to manipulate him and stuff. And she's like fucking bipolar or out of her mind or something. Who knows?
Right. Of course. Yeah.
But, and then it's like the next shot, it's like a few months later, and it's just like, yeah, it's him getting out of the pool, and he's just like he's the hunky late 20s, early 30s. Or I mean, everyone looked older back then. He's probably like 22. You know what I mean? But he looks like 39. Yeah.
I think he's just supposed to be 30, and he
Yeah.
does
I
look
mean,
50.
yeah,
so-
he looks like early 30s, I guess.
He's
But,
probably smoking two back.
you know,
today,
he
so.
gets out of the pool. He's like and she's like, "Here, let me dry you off." And it's like interesting that it's like they don't have a physical intimacy necessarily, but they do have this weird sort of like it's like a mommy energy. It's weird, dude.
Totally.
But it's so good. It's fascinating to watch because it's like also Gloria, what's her last name? The actress.
Yeah, Swanson.
Okay, that's what I thought. She is obviously just fucking running away with it every time. She's just like chews up the scenery so much. Like she's just so dramatic, and it's like normally you would think it would be over the top, but it makes so much sense for her character because she's such a drama queen.
Dude,
it's perfect.
Yes, and I've been watching 30 Rock, so that's kind of a through line where like it's like Jenna. She's totally like just like I'm ready for my close up in the camera. Like
camera.
She's got she has such like perfect diction and like she's and it's cool because she is kind of like she really is stuck in the past, like literally everything about her. Like it's like her extravagance and her like whole world view of like how an actor's supposed to be and like how she's like I haven't been like in hiding or anything. She's like it's not a comeback. It's a
return.
What did she say? That's a return.
Yeah. She's
Great.
like I hate that
Fantastic
word.
line.
It's a return. You know.
Right.
So good. She's like my adoring fans. They'll never forgive me for like leaving the limelight. You know.
I know, right? Oh God, and it's so sad, but like her confidence is actually kind of like it's infectious. Like I love how confident she is about herself. But then there is just it's so tinged with like delusion.
Yeah, she's such a boss in the open. Like when you first meet her, like obviously there's the chimp stuff, but then like when she's got that like weird little finger cigarette holder, and she's like, "Read my script, sit down," like, and then she's just like, "No, no, 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 no," you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like I get the alert.
He's like, "You're in every." He's like, "You're in every scene," and she's like, "Well, why wouldn't they want to see me? Like,
yeah,
I should be in every scene.
I'm a star."
Like, fuck yeah, dude.
Well, it's
like
interesting,
and it's great.
I want to know, because again, like I don't know, obviously, not as versed on the fucking early 20th century film as like some, you know. I mean, we've seen more than the layman, but still, it's like I want to know like this movie deals with like fame in like an interesting way and about how like toxic celebrity can be to a person's mind and like having this constant like attention to like an extreme that it's like I wonder when they started doing that because it's like that really only became a thing. Like obviously there's been huge names since the beginning of time, but like in the start of the 20th century with like the invention of film and like, you know, more newspapers and like just like wider spread media in general, like the idea of like celebrity coming to like a full thing, it's like that's like a fairly recent thing. And so to have it be like this kind of interesting character study, like criticism on it is, I wonder like what other ones have done that too. Cause it's just like, it's like one of her strongest personality traits, but it also like destroyed her is like her fucking ambition for fame and like her craving to be in the spotlight and her constant neediness, dude. She's just so needy, but it makes for such an interesting character. I don't know. Like she's a great character. And like a great villain kind of too. It's like, I don't know. She's everything because it's hard to call her a villain, even though she like is the antagonist, I guess. But
yeah, she's kind of her own worst enemy. She's her own antagonist. And like she gets in her way a lot, but it is very fascinating too how the Hollywood system worked then. Even so, present time in the universe that we're in, it's 1950 or what it's technically it's 1949 in this time period, like, and it's all grounded in reality, even though she's playing like an actress that I don't think existed. Is that damn? I forgot to look it up.
It's very what I saw. It's like it's all very meta though, because it's like she was actually Gloria Swanson was actually the silent film actress.
And like I love that
worked with Cecil B. DeMille for real, and like in the silent film era. Max was a director. Like it's very
right. He was a director. It's crazy. I like if you go to our Reddit, I posted like a I posted like a little, interview making of behind the scenes
I know. I
about
want
this
to
movie.
watch that.
It gives some great information, and like it's really cool to see like everybody in this movie is really like, I mean, because there was only like 100 people who worked in Hollywood from like 1920 to I don't know.
It was like a
2015.
club back, dude. It was
a
the
really small
fucking Wild West, dude, in the 20s. That's the thing. It's like that's where
crazy,
such
though.
extravagance, because Max even says at one point 18,000 a week untaxed.
Yes.
In
Dude,
1920, bro. Like,
it's because when she's like, it's fine, I've got $1 million, and I like, and like, it's crazy when you say $1 million now, that barely buys you a house, but it's like back then, like she had $1 million plus like whatever residual income she had from her oil mines pumping away.
I know, right?
It's like she's making so much money, and she's just like, she can like isolate herself up there, and it's making her go mad. Like, it's wild that I'm surprised this movie hasn't been remade, unless it has, but I don't. To my knowledge, it hasn't. I know it's been done.
I saw like a stage play. I thought it was remade because I like looked up a poster and I saw a poster with like Glenn Close, but I didn't dig too deep into it. But I was like, oh shit, did they remake it? But then I was like, oh, I think that might be a stage play actually, which. This would work as a pretty good stage play with a couple tweaks.
100%.
Just in the house,
100%.
Because most of it is just the two of them in the house with Max occasionally.
I know. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like it does feel staged, a lot of it.
Yeah.
I like, dude. But I love when she's in when she's watching her old films. Those are really her old films.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing. Like, she's really in these like old silent films.
That scene was
that's such a good
good
scene,
too.
dude.
Yeah.
She stands up in the smoke, and like it shows the power. Like, I'm like, holy fuck, I am 100% bought in that she was a star. Like, I feel like just her like every day, with like in front of one person, the amount that she gives, I'm just like, fuck, I wish she was acting still. Like, I wonder what happened. Like, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. It's the Hollywood system. Back in the day, it was like they fucking just ground you up. They bought you and sold you like nothing. Like,
you got to see Babylon, dude. A lot of people didn't like Babylon, but it's about the fucking silent film. They're running crazy, just like nonstop, and then the transition into the talkies and about how it like ruined a lot of people's lives. I feel like kind of like a lot of people didn't like that movie, but I loved it. Well, but we should
with the talkies too. The talkies became more like I mean, monetized and everything, but it's like, I don't know what it's called, but you became like a studio player. Now a studio held a lot more power, and around that time it was like you were a contract.
Yes, exactly. Studio contracts were way more of a thing.
And
back
then. You would get like 5 pictures. No matter what, you were just like, you were a workhorse, and you were forced to be there. And if you wanted to do another picture, it was such a crazy deal, and you like really had very little say. And so it's just kind of like, it's exhausting. And so it's kind of cool to see someone who like wants to get back into the Hollywood system, but like I feel like she couldn't handle it, honestly. Still. Like,
no, it's changed. So like even Cecil B. DeMille says like it's changed so much.
It's changed a lot. Yeah, that's cool.
No, that brings me to I mean. We don't do this so often, but I'm jumping the gun a little bit. My favorite part of the movie, or probably my favorite part. The movie was so good, but the part that like really stood out to me is when they go to Paramount, and the old fucking grip is like, "Hey, Norma," and like puts the light on her.
Oh my god!
And then everyone is like, "Hey, it's Norma Desmond," and like flocks her. It's such an insane moment because it's like
it's beautiful. Dude, I get chills.
I was like
that
oh,
scene
okay,
when she descends. Like, those two scenes,
so
I'm like,
good.
They're very powerful.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, my mind was being rocked, dude. Like, the first time I ever saw this movie, I was like, holy shit! Like, this is like, no wonder movies are still around. Like,
yeah,
no
dude.
Wonder,
this movie, this is one of those movies where you're like, fuck, I love movies. Like, I was watching it, I was just like, god damn, movies are awesome.
Right.
But like that scene, it's like not only just look and like sound so powerful. But it's just like, it's such a good character moment too for her fame. And it's just like, that just like rose her up to another level of like, she can't go back down. Cause it's like, she's got another taste of it, man. And it's like, there's no turning back for her. And that's like, obviously when it comes all tumbling down, she has no choice but to shatter her tiny little brain. But God, like that scene's so good. And then she's literally just like crying a little bit. Like it's so good. I loved it a lot. Yeah, this movie. Let me speaking about her all coming undone and stuff at the end. We've been obviously praising this movie. This movie's excellent. the one thing for me that stops it from being perfect is Betty. We barely talked about her. She is sort of unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
like
She's their love scene. That thing, that's to me, I think part of the detriment to being genreless is the fact that they're like, well, we can kind of do it all. Let's throw a romance in this. That's like a true, like, what is it, like name is star-crossed lovers, or just like not like they're not meant to be, but then they fall in love desperately, and it's like it kind of like, but it felt like it our time period now in the Lord's year 2024, it just feels awkward to me. Like I kind of see it a little differently as like oh, these two kids could like make it work, but like it's just like I love how he realizes it though too.
Yeah, no, I liked, because I was getting kind of excited, whereas like, because that was the only time I was disappointed at all in this movie, because I was getting kind of excited because there is like a little bit of sexual charged energy like at the New Year's party and all this stuff, but it's like she's engaged to his friend and like he's kind of skeezy, but he respects it also. He's not a complete douche, but he's because he's even when he kind of kisses her and he's like, that's the last time ever, don't ever let me do that again.
Dude, in the New Year's party, I didn't know if they were together. Like I was like, is he hitting on her too? And then but then I don't know, it was unclear until she was like, I'm engaged to him, and I was like, oh. But
like the drive, I was like, oh, okay, they're doing just like almost like a friendship. They're working off of each other's ambition. She is like signaling to he's a writer and he hasn't been writing because he's just been living off the laurels of Norma, and she wants the ambition, and so they like start working together, and I'm like, this working relationship is perfect, and it is enough to spark that jealousy that she has when he just leaves the house. Anything could spark it. So it's like she's important there, but pushing it to the next level where she's like, I want to leave my fiance, and he's like, no, baby. And then she comes in at the end, and it's a good moment for Joe. Like it's a good character building moment for Joe, but she doesn't really like. I feel like Norma would have had the mental breakdown without her. You know what I mean? Like, because she was already jealous just because Joe was spending time with her. Whether or not they had a romantic relationship at all wouldn't have made a difference to Norma's state of mind, especially since when she finds out her whole life is a lie and there's no fans and she's really not a star, and so when she's already so alone, her chimp is dead, and now her boy toy is leaving. She just can't handle it, so she fucking shoots him 3 times. You know what I mean? In like a fucking crime of passion.
The one's like an accident. The second one is like, well, that felt pretty good. And the third is like, well, if you're already doing the thing, end his life.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, seriously. But it's like, you like that pool so much?
Well, dude, and I love it too. Like, Victoria thought it was dumb, but I think it's beautiful when he gets shot the first time and he just keeps kind of walking like normal, like
it's
a
like a
bit
Western,
relaxed.
Like he's just like
exactly. Yeah. Like I love how it's like, that portrays it like it's like, and it's like, it's just like he's like, can I not die on the first bullet? Like I want to I want to be give myself some dignity here, and like, but it's great. It's a great like, he's just a great stride. It's a good shot too, just like that high up on the crane, and it just like tracks him over there. I love it.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Because the only time I felt any flutter of anything was like the last bit, because I'm like, it didn't need it. I don't know, but
no, Betty. Yeah, and Betty's was weird when he like calls her and she's at her like girls' school, and then like they both come over
and she's like about to go down for bed, and then they're like, she's like, I'm out of here. Let's go, Joe. And he's like, no, this is my life. And she's like, okay, well, see you later then. Like, and then she's just gone for the climax. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's kind of just like, oh, sad face, like sad emoji, and she just
by
leaves.
then
I don't know.
I'm gonna go to Arizona. Like if it would have like tied in like more of a final way where it's like she's got the writing credit, and then there's some kind of like she gets like if it would have been like she gets like interviewed at the end and like her career takes off because he died.
Oh, that'd be,
and he was like a co-writer, and it's like all involved. Then it's like she uses his death to like capitalize on her own career. Like I think that would have brought it full circle. Story. Yeah, that would have brought it full circle, I think. And then she sells the movie and becomes a writer, in the business. But she like, it just shows that it's like in Hollywood, the only way to get by is to be like taking advantage of someone. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's good. I don't know. I wish. Obviously, I love the black and white, but like, I do wonder every time they would like point something out to like how something is. Like when he's like,
they
that
did a
cigarette
lot,
case
yeah.
is gold. I'm like, oh, that would have been cool to see. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad, obviously, I'm glad it's not in color, but like, and I wanted to see her car in full color. Cause like,
Oh, I know,
when they're driving
dude.
around and it's got like the leopard print seats and everything, I'm like, that car is fucking sick. Like an old school, like
got, like,
1915, like Ford or whatever, with like fucking, I don't know, like the fact that they're so obsessed with the car, and that's like a kind of a weird subplot thing about like the reason why they're reaching out to her, Paramount, is because they want to use her car. And I'm like, at first I was like, what's so special about her car? And then I see it and I'm like, oh, I bet that car is fucking crazy looking, because it's like all the print and everything, and like, because it's a beautiful car, but
It's crazy looking to us now, and I can only imagine that, like, yeah, car
in
aficionados,
1950
like,
and the full color, like what with the leopard print and everything,
Yeah.
they're like, what the fuck, man? Like it's
No, dude,
it's
no, it
it's too
was-
cool.
There's time when he's getting his like makeover montage, and they're like, oh, a blue like plaid or whatever for a man, and like I'm just like, oh, it's so cool. Like they talk about colors, and it seems so rich, and I feel like, you know, I mean, I don't know, I don't feel like we needed this in color. I mean, I agree.
No,
with
definitely
you. It's
not.
like,
Definitely not.
Seeing it in color would be interesting, and it would be kind of cool. Like, I want to know, because there is blood coming out of his chest in the pool, but you can't really tell. It's kind of muddied, you know, because the black and white, if you will, almost like
Yeah.
it like. I mean, I don't, but I feel
But that's
like
an interesting thing in black and white
It adds
movies,
so
where it's
well.
like they have to say it verbally to add like an extra layer of texture, and it totally
Yeah.
works. But it is like such a weird thing, because in the store when he's trying on the suits and he's like, well, if the lady's paying, you know.
I know. Oh my god, that's so good. Do that like close up,
Yeah.
push into their two face.
And his like slimy mustache, yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, God, this really is genreless. Like, this is a comedy now.
Yeah.
Because like the whole thing is like, it's, you know, it's comedy is like speckled in there. A lot of comedy that is 100% lost on our generation, because like, I don't, they're talking about, you know, Zaggy Deegdob and the funny gang is coming by, and he's like, and she's like, you write like an old baboon, and like, or whatever, like how they're like tit for tat, like talking about like probably, you know, contemporary people and things and references, like things that are in pop culture, and like I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what the hell you're saying. It sounds fun though.
Yeah, it's great. Because that's the thing too about, like, I think one of the main reasons why I love noir films so much, and this movie definitely has a lot of this, is like the way that every bit of dialogue, like, it's not super realistic a lot of the time, but it's like, it's just, there's always the perfect little like line, the sharp, like, clever comeback. You know, everything is just like, yeah, baby, like, you know, I don't know. It's like, especially, and that's why it's like early on with the two of them, and like before things get kind of dire, because it gets pretty dark in the back half, you know. Like after New Year's, it's like they're in this relationship and stuff, but it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of like snarky, like levity in the scenes, especially when he's like, oh, I've been cooped up with this one lady, and he's like almost overwhelmed when he's like, it's like sneaks out and goes to the New Year's party or whatever, and he's like in a fucking like $1,000 tuxedo with a mink coat.
Yeah,
and he just
I love how
shoves
he
the
wants
mink
the
coat
coat
on
on.
the shelf. He's just like, poof, like doesn't give a fuck. And then it's like someone probably stole it. No, he's wearing it later, but
No,
shoulda.
he takes it home when he runs. But it's great too when he like gets there and he like feels embarrassed, because
Yeah,
he's like,
he's got good
oh,
color
man,
up. He's like, nah.
I'm so like, he's like, I'm so overdressed for this party. Thus, and I'm overdressed just for the people I'm with. Like they're making that that when they make that joke when they're like, you know, everybody, he's here, and he's like a smuggler and whatever, you know, he like names like three things, you know, the rules of three, and like you know, gives him like a good razzing while he shows up, and but then he's like super embarrassed about the jacket, and then his friend's like, wait, are you really smuggling? Like it's like a
Right.
joke and a joke, dude. Like that's so well written. It's like,
good.
and that I think
good.
that's like the thing I'll take away from this is like, it really is like, there are a lot of great films from the 50s, obviously, but I feel like the ones I've seen, it's like there's good scenes, but like this movie throughout the entire thing, I'm like, oh man, it feels so contemporary. Like everything they're talking about,
It is
all the
timeless,
scenes
man.
work
Like,
together.
I was telling my wife, like, she's such a fucking bah humbug when it comes to older movies. Like, even movies from, like, the 80s and 90s. She's like, oh, this is ancient.
Right, it's just
I'm
I
like,
don't like the way
sorry,
it was.
it's not like a digital Netflix movie. God forbid.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you can get past the black and white and, like, the fucking aspect ratio, like, this movie is, because it's like, I forgot, because it looked great. Like, I watched, like, in the restored Blu-ray version or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it looks so good, and it's like, it is so contemporary, and like the acting doesn't feel like, it feels genuine. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand fully. I'm glad it lived up to its expectations, because it's like, I understand fully why this is a classic, because it's like, I was nervous that I wouldn't like. I'm like, I knew I'd like it. Because it's like,
Sure. But
but
might-
you're
it's
always
like
nervous
Vertigo.
watching
Vertigo
a big
is our
boy.
biggest one.
Yeah.
Go listen to our take on Vertigo. We liked the movie, but we were disillusioned, and we were like, it was overhyped for us. And so
It is one of those movies
know.
that lives better in the memory, but like at the time I had a lot of nitpicks, because it's just like, it's messy. But like, it's good though.
Right.
Vertigo's good, but
It's
like,
bloated.
go
It's
listen.
bloated.
Yeah, go
Vertigo's
listen to
bloated.
that episode.
I know. we could don't need to do another hour on
know.
that. But yeah, where this really is like, I mean, this went through a lot of rewrites, and they really workshopped it, because they wanted to make something that felt timeless, that did that, and it's such a, like, I think that's what works well, is that it's like telling a story of the past, and so you get to see her like act kind of, it's great, because like Norman Desmond's character, whenever she's on screen and like how she acts and stuff and how she talks, it feels authentic to her, which is like 20 years in the past.
Well, again, it's like Jenna
and
in 30 Rock, where she's like, I tried to get them to do an award for living theatrically in real life, and I'm like, that's
real
her.
life.
Like, she's just theatrical at all times.
Right, exactly. And that's just how you're supposed to be in the business, where it's great to see everybody who's contemporary just kind of like, they're like working, and they're kind of just like everyday Joes, It's like no one, they have some, like Betty, I think Betty gives a good like insight to, like, I mean, she, because when that whole scene where she talks about, she's like, I wanted to be an actress, but I didn't have the perfect nose and stuff like that. It's like, where she's like, I'm humbled, but I'm also like, I love film, and movies aren't anything without the writers, and so it's just like getting your name in the credits.
No,
is, like,
she
all that
was
matters.
definitely important, especially to Joe's like character development, and I just wish that like it would have come together in a bit different way. But
Sure.
like, I love that it's like a love letter, and like I said earlier, a love letter to film and Hollywood, but also a criticism to it, because it's like you said, you got so many of the old school actors and like so many people referencing like in Hollywood, and like they're talking about it, but it's like, and like Buster Keaton's in it as like a cameo. He's just like playing cards in this old mansion. It's perfect.
Right, and it's great. He only gets like one line or whatever, So it's like, it's cute. It's like, it's quaint. You're
It
like,
is.
oh.
It's cute, because it is. It's like,
She's with these relics.
It feels like a love letter for sure, because it does like glamorize it, like back in the day, but it also like, look what it's done. You know what I mean?
Right.
Look at my God.
And I love that, like, they were like, oh, we're gonna write Norma Desmond's, is gonna be working with a director. The whole plot existed, but they didn't have who it was going to be exactly. And so when they like approached Cecil B. DeMille, he was like, oh, of course I'll do it. I'm friends with Gloria and all that. And they were like, well, okay, do you want to be in it, or do you want us to cast somebody to play you?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, I'll just do it. I'll be myself. And like, he felt
He did great
like,
too.
So
Like,
he felt so honored to like play himself in a movie, and I was like, oh, that's cute. That's cool. That's like some cool like insider Hollywood stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, that's fun. He got to play himself, and he does a great job, dude. He really is like a good actor. It's like, it was awesome.
He does. Yeah, he does a great job, and it's like, I'm so, I feel like I had like a fucking brain melt moment, because I'm like, I know who Cecil B. DeMille is. Like, I know who he is. I know, like, when he came up, I'm like, oh, he's a legend, I'm like, I know that guy. But then I, like, looked at his filmography, and I'm like, I don't know if I've seen any of his movies. Like, I've seen, like, a lot of famous parts from, like, Ten Commandments. But I'm like, looking at him, like, I know Cecil B. DeMille as, like, this iconic, old-school Hollywood director. But I'm like, I don't know if I've seen any of them, too. So, obviously, we're going to have to rectify that. You know what I mean? Because I was like, dude, what the fuck?
God, he's one of those. It's wild how, like, when you become like a director, and like, you make so much stuff. Like back in the old Hollywood, it was like that's how come it's like such a small playing field, like small teams, because it's like he's directed so many movies. It's wild. and like it just and that's you just like probably like 2-3 pictures a year that he had to do.
Yeah,
for
back
the
then
whole,
it's just
you
a
know,
job too. Like
25
it's just
years
like ba-bam, 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 you know.
Right.
It's about that output, baby. Because back then it's just like people, I don't know, man. It's crazy, crazy time.
They're
Love me some old school
burning
cinema.
film.
So yeah, we got to do like.
Yeah, I've seen some of Cleopatra of his, but yeah, he's definitely somebody who's like talked about, and I've seen some stuff in film school. But
we tried to
really
tried to watch Cleopatra for like Epic Month the year or whatever, and so like we gotta work it in there, baby. We gotta work it in. So anyway, you got a money minute for me? I'm curious. I mean, obviously with older movies, it's kind of harder because it's like
it's really hard. I really couldn't find anything that's like to where we are now. You know, I don't even really know. I'm sure this is probably in Criterion, but like I don't know who's like.
Oh, I'm sure.
How many hands it's exchanged? Like what other companies it's gone through? But as it stands now, it was 1.7 to make, 1.7 million, and it made 5 million, and that was the best of my like research I could find. That's like what it made in its theatrical run. Which is a great turnaround. That's a lot, dude. It's crazy to think too, because like a movie ticket was like 10 cents or something crazy. It's like
wild,
you know. So it's just like wild to think about how many.
Well, it's such a for so long. I think these days a lot of youngsters don't realize. I mean, and even retrospective to us, we caught the end of it, but like people don't realize like what a fucking thing going to the cinemas was for like, you know. Like the second half of the 20th century, it was like the thing, you know, for most of it. And then it's just like it slowly went downhill these last 10 years. And then COVID came and like fucking now it's like barely. But I don't know. Like when I go to the movies, sometimes there's people there.
Yeah, but it's disproportionate now to what I mean, like everything in the world, sure. But it's like wild. It literally, when I said 50 cents or I said 10 cents, I was a little off. It's 50 cents was a movie ticket price in 1950, and it like that. It's like 50 cents it's crazy, dude. It's so cheap, and it was like that's just they wanted butts and seats, and they just wanted you to be there, and like people used it as an opportunity to like go out, and it was like it was cool because it was definitely a sophisticated thing that people could do, but like it was accessible.
Well,
and
it's
that's not really what it is nowadays. It's
couldn't do it at home. Like that's the thing. It's like nowadays. Like, I get it, because nowadays, if you have a decent fucking home entertainment system, a decent TV, decent sound system, it's like most movies you can get a similar experience. You know what I mean? As far as it, because it's like my wife, like, I'm like, going to the movie for me is like going out, just going to the movies, going to the cinema, get my popcorn or whatever. And, but like a lot of times it's like, I can watch it, like, my wife, she'd be down, but sometimes she's like, why I just would rather be at home in my pajamas. I can pause it to take a piss. I don't have to like, and I'm like, I get it. So it's crazy.
I get that.
It makes sense that it's just like, that's how you had to do it back then. It's like, you had the radio and it's like TV wasn't really like as popular until like this area, this time period. But,
but even then it's like,
it's like not even for like this decade, you know,
not even. Yeah.
But anyway, so I got, oh shit, is it my cake day? It is. How odd.
Whoa. Congratulations, I guess.
I know. I just pulled up on Reddit and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, it is. Yeah, I see you on there. Fun.
So I got one Reddit comment. I bet you can guess. It's from Clones of People 2. Says, I have no idea how many times I've seen this, but it's a lot. I first saw it when I discovered film, and now I tend to revisit this every year or two. I think this is one of the greatest films of its time, and 74 years later, it still holds up. The film is so well made, and the characters and dialogue are so engaging. I know it's a cliche, but they really don't make them like this anymore. On this watch, I paid special attention to Gloria Swanson's acting, and this part is clearly made for her. Her silent film acting and emoting works so well to convey how disassociated with reality she is and her descent into complete madness. Also, the cinematography around her is immense. The camera moves make her more imposing at times, and the lighting keeps her in the spotlight. Absolutely. I love the voiceover, and as far as I'm aware, this is one of the first uses of the main character's dead all along tropes. Bonus points for Buster Keaton cameo. Overall, this is one of the greatest films of its age. I'd include it in my top list of top 100 films of all time. Absolutely. This movie's a banger.
Yeah,
Like
solid.
that's the thing. It's like this is the movie. Again, I love Double Indemnity. Double Indemnity is like a perfect noir film for me, but I would recommend this movie to anyone. You know, this movie I would just like it's just to anyone. Double Indemnity, I'm like, if you like that kind of movie, like it's a great movie. But yeah, man, like I don't know, this movie just it bangs.
I
It
was
fucking slaps.
telling everyone at work that it like I don't know. It really
How?
you'd be hooked right at the beginning and
I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, how has this not been remade? Like, I feel like they remake fucking everything. It's just maybe it's just because they realize they can't. Because it would. Who would remake this? If there was one person, one director, who would remake Sunset Boulevard?
they just shouldn't. I think it's like this movie can't be remade because it's not that popular in like the film zeitgeist on like people's minds today. It definitely is like once you like Clones Are People too, once you like discover film.
Yeah,
quote
it's like
unquote,
right there
or,
next
you know,
to
I love
Citizen
that.
Kane.
It
You know
is.
what I mean? Like
Right, exactly. Yeah,
the
so
classics
on the list. It'll show up on lists appropriately in the top 100, and you can kind
Top
of get
15
you can get away with
usually, yeah.
seeing this. Right, exactly.
It's up there.
But like, I just feel like it's just not as punchy. Like I feel like Babylon is kind of your remake. That's kind of what you're like even like La La Land or something. You know that like idea of Hollywood, and they've kind of been making this movie for a long time. And I like Hollywood, so I am smitten by this. I get like
another
movies
genre.
about Hollywood. It's like,
Well, I know we can never think of a genre last minute. I mean, obviously we're doing pool movies this month, but like,
dude, are you kidding me? It's 85 degrees. I want a pool.
I know dude, you're fucking evaporation, man. Like you gotta.
I know. Tell me about it. Yeah.
But I'm like, we also got to do a month of like movies about making movies. You know what I mean? We've done a few of those though, but like, there's a lot of good movies about that. I know it's like a lot of people think they're pretty masturbatory, which they are sometimes. They are.
If they're done well,
But-
if they're done right, because this movie has so much more than that, and that's what's amazing. It's like
so
that,
much
it's
more.
like it's a subplot of trying to get back into Hollywood. The main plot of this is their like relationship. It's like and yeah, it is. It's telling his story, and that just involves
Also,
her in the film studio.
right. On a side note, speaking of, where can I get a pair of Cecil B. DeMille's sick boots? See those fucking boots he was in? Those like tight leather skin type boots. They're like knee high. Like I feel like that is an old school director thing because I feel like I've seen that
It's
before.
an old
What
school
is it?
dictator thing, dude.
Yeah, what is it?
Just go to World War II. I don't know. Go
Yeah,
to
it's true.
World War I
It's
guess.
like a
right?
fucking
'Cause this
Mussolini or something.
Yeah, or this was right after World War II. But yeah, it's like fucking go. You got to do. Yeah.
And like when he walked in the full frame
Just
and he's
off the
like,
military
all
line.
right, lights, camera, speed. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Those are beautiful. Anyway.
And I love like the microphone in the studio, like getting to see. I mean, maybe I'm a little partial because I love Hollywood, so it's like seeing how the films are made there, and like everybody's got a job, and like it's so fun, and it's so cool how he's just like the pictures they're made different, and I love there's a great like thing in the making of where Max is like the real live dude, whatever his name is. He was like he like literally is himself. He's playing himself in the movie because like on set the whole time he was just like that. He like would just hold his hands in front of himself, just super straight faced. Would say like a few things, a few
He
pleasantries.
just is a
and that's
butler
it.
now because it's like he
Yeah.
is an old director and he did direct Gloria Swanson and the sound. Like it's perfect.
I know that's so cool. But he was like he kind of like he's been out of the film business too, so it's like he was back in there, kind of like getting to relive some glory days. So it's like he brought. I think that works a lot too, where it's like he really does bring himself into the film, and it like I don't know. Yeah, it works really well. Like everybody had a part to play, and they did it fantastically. So
I love it.
Love
If
this
you've made it this far and you haven't seen Sunset Boulevard, do yourself a favor. Just go watch it. It's great. I think anyone will enjoy it. Obviously, we liked it. So there it is. Sunset Boulevard. So happy to finally have knocked it off my list after all this time. Good stuff. Makes me want to go watch
and
more
now-
classics, though. Like more classics
Double
I haven't
Indemnity is
seen.
mine now.
We gotta
We
watch.
got to do Double Indemnity, so I can knock that off
We
my
can't do
list.
another noir month, man, and everyone hated us.
I know. It's okay. We got
Clones of
Four-
people too.
four
He'll
votes.
watch noirs with us, right? Yeah, bro.
Hell
You can't
yeah,
see it, but I'm
thanks.
doing the Shaka Bra. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Go. Thank you to everyone who voted for this movie on the Reddit. I kind of was like, I didn't think it would win, but I'm always surprised. I never know because it's like I do feel like people think it's old. It's not in the current. Yeah, it's not in the zeitgeist. It's fucking older than a lot of people's grandparents. You know what I mean? So it's yeah.
Well, and we have kind of the same trajectory for next week's film. It
Yeah.
also is one that I know tentatively. It's been it's a film I've heard about.
It's a
but
film I've heard
never
is
really
good,
been-
and I put it on
Yeah.
the list. So this has been a hard one for me because usually when we pick a genre of the month, I can't just pick movies I've seen all the time. I do pick movies I've seen often, but I pick a lot of movies I've not seen. But it's hard to Bullet is always our example for car movies. That it's like I've never seen Bullet, but I'm like, oh, it's got a car on the fucking cover. It's a car movie. Definitely not. But it's like pool movies. I'm like,
pool movies.
I literally
Pool
have to
movies are
Google
even more abstract.
I know. I literally got to Google movies that have a significant swimming pool scene. You know what I mean? Not billiards. So
Yeah, right, yeah. Wet pools.
wet pools. So yeah, the next. Oh wait, it doesn't end until tomorrow, but it looks like it's probably going to be because I did it late. My apologies. It's probably going to be Last Picture Show, which I'm fucking surprised. I thought Incendies was going to go for it just because it's Denis Villeneuve, and people literally on the Reddit have been like, "We got to watch Incendies." So
We go to watch Incendies. Yeah, I know, right? I picked After Sun to be
I
full
feel
disclosure,
like we'll watch that
I
eventually
haven't-
because I want to see it too.
I
But
want to really bad, yeah.
yeah, but this is the Peter Bogdanovich, the guy who directed Paper Moon, which I did not know.
Paper Moon, I know, right? Yeah,
Paper
that's
Moon is
great.
incredible, so I'm looking even more forward to this because I've always heard it's good. So yeah, probably gonna win. If not, obviously we'll figure it out. But so check that out, everyone. Go. Thank you for voting. Everyone go to the Reddit, the YouTubes. If you're there, hello, hi. There's Jordan's red head, his face. He's dying. He's just human over there.
No, dude, it's so humid, bud. But yeah, so if you like
It's
humidity,
draggy
and
here.
you like hearing us talk, which I hope you do because you're listening to our podcast and we love you. Come to our Patreon, throw us a little scratch dizzle, little coinage, and you can hear us talk some more. We're gonna talk about our personal movies after this and our lives and
Yeah,
everything about it, film in
I
general.
saw someone's on there for $1 or one of the lowest tiers, and it's you still get the podcast. You know what I mean? Someone is paying $2, $3 or something and they're getting all this bonus stuff. So it's not gonna be
hours. There's hours.
stickers.
We've done so
We
many.
got a bunch of bonus ones, other movies,
Yeah.
fucking Spider-Verse, all this shit. So yeah, check it out. People do our Patreons are great. Yeah, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Swimming pools.
The pause, everybody.
Wait, are you ready to stop? There it is. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye bye now.